it'd be the city's property, so it'd be up to us to determine the rates. You know,
We don't pay for the power, like the city itself wouldn't be paying the power bill. for
people have,
Dave's
it's got a
phone.
card reader on
Yeah,
it
but
most of the
people-
time, where people just have a card that they tap and it charges their, use the card and they use it. So, yeah. So you have to make enough to cover maintenance, I think, probably, when you spike, I think it's a charge for the power and the maintenance, you know, you figure out a price that would set that they just,
That sounds interesting.
How many were you wanting to install?
I was just thinking, well,
Probably
one,
a couple anyway.
well, I think it requires you to have three.
Oh,
Maybe up at
Yeah.
the park, somewhere up at the park would be a good place.
No, we'd have to figure out what
Yeah.
would be needed.
The whole thing is where's there power available that can, you know, I'm gonna have to run a line for a half a mile, you know, because that's gonna get spinny, so I was thinking there's power pretty close there, and it's
The
paying.
parking lot's not a bad idea either, because right there,
It's right there by the
right there,
way the
at
road is.
at that kiosk, we have a power.
And it's very close to everything in town, so. I'll bring down the application, like I said, I can easily
Okay.
get the information needed and we can go. It's fairly soon for that initial one.
The grant that you're talking about was actually discussed about a year ago, but they weren't ready for it at the time. And I talked to the guy about it as well, and said over here at the park to put 3 of them in. And the reason for that is because they're also developing full electric buses. And they're like the minibuses that we have here. They don't look anything like them, they're ugly in sin. But they are developing them and they want to trot those out as well. So I figured if we were one of the first areas to put them in, we might actually be able to get them down here.
Cool. Yeah, all right, thank you, Councilmember Waterston, that sounds promising. Anything further?
Yep.
All right, resolutions, ordinances, reports, Tenino Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, just a second, I gotta look to see what I wrote down.
Time's up.
Yeah.
EDC. South, well, that's John too. So you wrote something down for the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, it was, real simple, they presented the film that was done for, the HGTV. Melinda, we all know what's going on, and she wasn't there, so the meeting was pretty quick after that.
We saw it at the board meeting.
Yeah, and it's been at a couple at Steady as well.
Very cool.
And I have shared it and shared it and shared
Keep
it
doing it.
and shared it,
Shared it.
shared it.
South Thurston Fire and EMS.
You probably saw in the paper, the contract for the chief has been approved. I've asked to, I brought up the fact that I need to get my, what the heck is it, PDC stuff. The class that we all have to take every now and then for public disclosure, some of you guys are already taking that. It's about that time for me again, and
Well, we have to do a report from here too.
Yeah,
The city
public
council.
records and LPMA stuff.
We
yeah.
have to do
Open public eye, yeah, and none of the members on the council at this point besides me, has taken it. So that was something that I pushed for, is that we need to get this stuff done. This way.
I think John Vanderhook took it because I remember sitting through a class with him and Tina.
Okay,
So it's like he may not understand that's what he was.
well, maybe, but he wasn't there, he was the only one that wasn't able to make it. So I brought that up. I also brought up that we need to have a retreat to start looking at things on a more professional basis than what they're doing right now. For example, John was not excused. You know, we were told by the chair that he wasn't gonna be able to make it, but there was no formal acceptance, which, as we all know, can get us in trouble, or get John in trouble, 3 unexcused, and you can be removed from the position. So these are things that I want to start bringing up, start moving in that
Good.
direction.
One thing at a time, little baby
Dan-
steps.
And I asked Dan to come, and Dan was gracious enough to show up for our meeting. I think this will be your first one.
That's the first one, yeah. I just never been asked to come before, and
That's all it takes sometimes. Good.
yeah.
The power of personal invitations.
Yes. Tenino branch of the Timberland Regional Library. Did you have anything further to report? You're always on the agenda.
Well, something that is late breaking, very new, is that the office space within the library is getting a mini makeover. So if you come into the library between now and Friday, you'll see things in odd places because we had to clean it completely out. But we are getting, at no cost to the city, we're getting some new cabinetry that was repurposed from another library, and also getting painted. So we're all excited about having a refresh and some storage that is more versatile and useful for what we actually use the office space for. So that's going on right now, of course. And to give you a long look ahead, and I mentioned this because of the SCA ladies, we were planning a big family event on May 2nd. We will now change that date. But it's called Family Con, and it's going to be basically a con for the entire family. So if you can't make it up to Emerald City Con or down to San Diego Con, you can come to our Family Con some date in May, to be determined now.
Are you saying you want to do it the same date as theirs?
No.
No, that would be cool.
Well, I was thinking everybody would be down at Mayfair instead of coming into the library.
You get people of both.
You think so?
Oh yeah, and I think you kind of draw different crowds. Like
Right.
they are awesome and kooky, and they're kind of like their own little tribe.
Yeah.
But they're open, like they invite the public,
Yeah, they do.
and sometimes groups come. I encourage anybody to do things the same day as them, because then you can send people over there, and it's cool.
That's a good point.
And if people like your little family con people, they're probably gonna enjoy that.
Well,
It's a neat event.
And we are encouraging people to come in costume if they are interested in doing that, so it could be kind of an interesting mingling down there in the park area.
They would get a kick out of it.
So, yeah.
I've taken my daughter down dressed up in silly little princess stuff,
Yeah.
and they adore her when she comes down and does
Or
that.
they can use some of the costumes that they have there. A couple of years ago, I did.
That's
Oh,
true
really?
too.
Yeah. That's fun.
It's a neat event.
Yeah, so I will share more about that event with you when it comes up, when it's a little bit closer to that. But for now, we're just kind of rolling on our full slate of programs. Family story time tomorrow. Friday, we're having Explorers Club in the afternoon. I will be at the Tenino Elementary School on Thursday night for their STEAM event, taking some snap circuits over there and some fun things to do. So getting out in the community, meeting people, doing lots of stuff. And John, thank you for coming and getting your library card, and encourage the rest of you to do that.
I got mine.
Oh, excellent. I would say we weren't very scary, were we?
No.
Okay, great.
So the library card's no good?
No, if you, yeah, it's,
Yeah, I know that.
it's free. The only thing is, if you haven't used it for 3 years and you try to get online, it's gonna tell you to come to the library to be updated.
Yeah,
Okay.
So,
that's what
Probably need
happened.
an update.
yeah, so come and get updated and say hi while you're there. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Depot Museum.
Nothing to report.
Okay.
Oh,
Arch.
actually, yeah, I think I already told you about that. A couple of years ago, I was talking to Arts about doing a rotating display over here, and they're interested. I gotta get some details on what they expect for insurance and security and all that kind of stuff, and then I have to meet with the board members to see if they're still interested in the idea that they were a couple of years ago. My thought pattern on that was, by having that and promoting that we're bringing all this different art down here, that will not only be able to show Tenino off, but this new art will bring more people to come down and take a look-see.
Awesome.
Almost forgot about that.
Arch Commission.
We put the Creative District's capital improvement pilot program in there, so if they want to take a look at that.
And the letter of interest was sent to the state.
To the Arts Commission.
And the acceptance is also there.
Okay. Civil Service has not met. Planning Commission.
They met, they had the
Planning Commission did meet this month. Paul Brewster's group, the TRPC gave them the Sustainable Thurston Plan, and my understanding is they talked about that for quite a while.
Than they needed to. So now.
So now, well, You know, again, what we're trying to do is we have a relatively new planning commission. They have now been thoroughly introduced to our state's Growth Management Act, and they have dabbled a little bit in the various things that the TRPC does and how they can help our planning commission do better at what they do. And so now our contract planner, Dan Penrose, is going to engage them in an analysis of our boundaries with the intent of recommending expansion of either or both the UGA and the city limits. The purpose there is Hidden Meadows took the last, big chunk of developable land within the city limits. So now all we have left is small pieces of infill. There's a few vacant lots, all around town that have never been developed. And one developer has filed a short plat, so that's 4 or less lots. And another developer is looking at a small subdivision, I want to say 7 lots. And once that occurs, it's almost going to be like a 1-for-1. We're going to have to take down one of these really old buildings that don't meet code, scrape that off the land, and then start over again. We're just out of room.
Okay. Facade Improvement Grant Review Committee.
Well, I'll be through working probably right around the, 16th or 17th of March, and then I'm really gonna get down and start working on that again. Session gets over the 12th, but I have to stay longer than this. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Chief of Police.
Can I,
Sir.
Finance Committee?
Yes.
Since it's the end of first quarter, pretty
Yeah,
close,
we
can
can.
we, maybe I'll give you both an email and we'll figure out a date to meet?
It'll have to be in the evening if
That's
it's,
fine.
unless it's after like the 16th or something of March, then I
okay.
can meet during the day,
Okay.
or a Saturday,
We'll figure something out.
March.
I'll coordinate that for us.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Chief of Police. You saw him earlier, he was in Alaska all last week, so he doesn't need to report on that. Clerk Treasurer.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, if you have questions about my written report, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, there's not a lot of change.
Okay, Director of Public Works provided his report. City Attorney, Clerk Treasurer, you heard from him. Me, there's been interest and movement on the Alpaca property, so we do get contacted with people asking questions, but there's been a couple different groups. Nothing definitive or to report on there. The caboose is, if you go down there, and you need to go visit Don. That guy is amazing.
Yeah.
Like he is like almost like a he's like got so he's so like freaking excited about that thing. And I go down there. If you go down there, be ready to spend like 45 minutes. He will tell you everything about this guy. Is a guy that Dave worked with for like 100 years, and he's retired, and he's meticulous. He is like so. He's got these blueprints laid out, and he knows he's gonna mill the doors from scratch. He intends to make this thing exactly like it was, and he knows how to do it. So if you do get a chance to go down there, he's been down there like every day working 10 hours. Yes, he is on it, and he's really excited. Go down there, introduce yourself, and he'll tell you more about that caboose and about trains than you have any idea of.
And you really wanna know.
And I'm crawling underneath it, and he's telling me everything about every little component and how he plans to like re-thread every screw and use it. It's crazy, and he's doing this all volunteer. And he's got his daughter now on board, and she's putting together.
Put it on Facebook.
Yeah, she's putting together a website. They're doing a completely separate private fundraising campaign to supplement the funds that the city has, and so he's pulling off all the metal parts. He's stripping it down to nothing. Everything's gonna get sandblasted, He doesn't, powder coating or something like that. No, they didn't do that in 1923. He's gonna probably mix the paint just like they did in 23 and paint the frickin' thing. It's crazy.
We get the word out, I'm sure you could use some help sometimes, so.
Yes.
Anybody you know that might be interested in learning.
Yeah, they're
Great
soliciting
learning
help.
opportunity for
He had
somebody.
a construction guy helping him like the last couple of days, and the guy said that when he's ready to rebuild the walls, his entire construction crew will come down, and yeah, and then so they are going to tear it down to nothing essentially, take all the components, cause like the railings, the screws, and basically all the wood is going to be replaced. And then they are going to take the tracks and the chassis down and put it on the tracks. We have ordered and it'll be on the tracks and be rebuilt in place. We've got a shed that we purchased that's going to be built over it, a Connex box that I own that he's going to use to keep this stuff in. When he's down there, I was like, Don, you're going to be a celebrity. People are going to be stopping by all the time and learning about the caboose, and it's his energy is cool. So you go visit him, man. You'll get a kick out of it. Museum. On Friday, Evening Magazine came down and did a piece on wooden money. So I hung out with Chris and with Jessica and the museum folks, and we did a bit in the Edward Jones building, the old Tenino Bank. We did a bit in the Tenino Time Machine, and then we did a bit in Scotty B's, and then we went to the museum and they filmed Lauren making money. And so like sometime first week in March there's going to be, it's probably 3 hours of work that'll be a minute and a half on Evening Magazine, but they're going to tell about John's program that he started, where we still, we made wooden money in 1935 and we still make wooden money that you can spend here today, and it'll be a nice program. While I was there, Lauren and I walked around the museum and we identified some things that we know we need to work on. Lighting, so we're gonna purchase some more lighting. We didn't do it
That's
again.
some glass that needs to be replaced on the inside?
I don't recall that.
Okay.
So he and I walked around. We're gonna redo some lighting. We didn't buy it at the end of the year last year because it was kind of the end of the fiscal year. Now we're gonna re-up on that. We talked about replacing some signs. We talked about the interpretive sign that we're gonna be purchasing this year. The gutters need to be cleaned out and caulked, just some normal wear and tear stuff. The Montgomery building is pretty close. I think it's pretty much done. They did a great job. Yeah, now they've got a big storage space that I didn't even know that they put in there, where they're going to be able to haul out and kind of keep paperwork, and so the museum's doing a great job.
Not just paperwork, but rotating what we have in there. There's so much stuff that's just stored.
Yeah.
And
You
putting
can't
it in
you
there
can't even
makes-
see it.
Yeah, it makes it easier for us to get stuff out and
Yep.
move stuff around.
Yep. So the museum folks are doing great. I've been corresponding with legislators and visiting people on the Hill, and we don't have any big agenda this year, so I'm just kind of sharing the things like I emailed to all of you, and then just telling everybody where we're at and what we're doing. The HDTV thing is pretty exciting. The Thurston Talk, it was their largest one-day story ever. So like as far as like a big blast of one story, it was like their biggest one-day feed that they've ever had. And then the video has been watched, I think, around 70,000 times now. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and we're gonna, by the time, we get closer to that date, we'll do a few more things to bump those numbers. That is my report. Be that.
There's no report.
CIP.
I missed a meeting, but we're working, what's going on now is we're working to fund our next funding cycle for the next year, so that's gonna be going out here soon, the call for projects, and we'll be reviewing those and making awards.
Solid waste.
Solid waste, the biggest one there is, I think I mentioned before, our 5-year solid waste plan that we were like 3 years behind on because of all the stuff in China and not being able to do the stuff with recycling.
Definitely can't do anything with China now.
Yeah, because of all the changes in recycling, we need to go back because it's already outdated and we haven't even, so we're having a one-day, we decided we're just gonna try to get it do an all-day meeting and try to get it updated with the latest stuff. to deal with those issues, and hopefully that will be done.
TCOM, Tenino School Board, that is Rachel. TRPC, we heard from them, is there anything additional there?
No, we just elected new officers and set the schedule for next year, pretty much was the.
Okay, steady.
Let's see, I took notes. They talked about, I talked about National Night Out, let everybody know that we're doing that. Talked about the evening magazine, Wooden Money. It was on that day, and George was there to talk a little bit about it as well. Yum has a new YouTube channel, Yum in Review. Jeff Bowes came down and he gave a presentation on what he does for the, what do they call those people now? Used to be the Visitor Convention Bureau.
Oh, yeah, Olympia and Beyond.
Experience
Olympia.
Olympia and Beyond. So he came down and talked about what they're doing and their ambassador program that they should be starting up here in next month, I think, something like that. The ambassador program, certified tourism ambassador program, it costs $49 to be part of that, but you get a 200-page book and you go through all these classes so that you get certified, and you have to get certified again every 2 years. So it's not just sitting around drinking some wine and talking about different places.
Well,
You
there's
actually
nothing wrong
have
with
to
that.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
crying out loud.
That's not all it is,
What
let
is
it
this?
quit.
That's not what the $49 is for. One of the guys came down from the county, was talking about the bike path and what the bike trails and what they were planning on doing with signage and stuff like that, and all these plans. And I've never seen this guy before except for one other time. And what this guy is talking about is what Paul Brewster did about 10 years ago. So I asked him, is this the same plan that Paul Brewster was doing? And he goes, oh yeah, it is. And I said, well then why aren't you giving him any credit for this? He worked his butt off on this thing for 2.5 years. And you're not saying anything about it. And so he apologized, and it bothered me. I don't know why, it just bothered me.
Apparently.
That it was-
Evidently.
Still bothered.
It still bothers
Woo!
me. You know, give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jeff Bowes about an idea that I had when they first were doing the Bountiful Byways path. And I talked to the county commissioners, and this is before they even made the final decision to do this, is to have a mobile app, and they now have one, but it's kind of weak. The idea that I had a long time ago, and it could have been done then, it can still be done, is if somebody's on the trail, the actual trail, and they're riding a bike and they're using their smartphone, following things on there, they can sell ad space on that. And when a bicyclist is going by a particular area, if the merchants that's close to that spot paid to be on that alert would send out, you're a mile away from this, boom, or whatever it is, you know, restaurants, specific sites, so on and so forth. So Jeff said that they'd take another look at that, because it didn't go anywhere. I had the very first people that I talked to, they thought it was great. Then we talked to the county commissioners, and it just died. I thought it was a good idea. Jeff thinks it's a good idea, so they're gonna see if they can do something along those lines as well with it. Rainier keeps telling everybody that we need to change the name of the trail.
I think we should too.
So do I.
Should be
It's
tried.
It's the Tri-Trail. Tenino,
Rainier,
Rainier, Yum Trail.
That's right.
It just makes sense,
That's to
okay?
me, seriously.
You know, when you do something like that, and with the museum that we have and the caboose that we're starting to put up and the bike trails, and Rainier starting to do a whole bunch of stuff, and they've got their new church the church museum type deal that they're working on, and everything is so close you can actually set up bed and breakfasts along the way, or little campsites, so that people can actually spend a couple of days on that trail. And that was the idea that was talked about a little bit at that meeting as well. I think that pretty much covers the whole thing.
Cool, thank you.
What happens when I write this stuff down?
Hide his notes.
Yeah. TPB, we did the same thing. We elected our new officers, which are the same ones that we had forever. I, again, made that motion, so it made everything easy. I made the motion, everybody said, okay.
Keep it the same.
Keep it the same. They like doing that spot. I was actually asked to do that, and I said, no, I can't do that. And so it was easier for me to nominate them all over again, and the rest of what was at TPB you heard.
Thank you.
Today.
Public comment period number 2. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to provide public comment, please come forward and do so at this time. You'll be given 3 minutes. Going once? Going twice? John.
Ritter Street needs to be one way.
Ritter Street needs to be a one-way street? Noted.
Someone gets killed on that road.
I saw you walking home the other day from, yeah, push her out into traffic. Announcements. This is John's announcements.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a long way off, but as you know, it all comes up real quick. Put on your calendar, August 4th for National Night Out. We already have food, we have cake, we have pony rides, we have music. Vendors will be there. For example, Habitat for Humanity is thinking about putting a booth down there. Costco, Dan was thinking about putting a booth in there. Just informational type stuff, nothing to really sell.
Talk to the library.
Yeah, I planned on, I went by the other day, but it was one of the days that you guys are closed, so I'll have to come back by again. So I'm not leaving anybody out. I'll get around to you.
It might also be the day that you vote for a sales tax
Yeah.
increase, but I know.
Oh, yeah.
Any other announcements?
No, that's all I have.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Oh, this was the other thing. I talked about this as well, and how important it is for us to, not for just us, but to start getting young adults, kids, 14, 15-year-olds to start looking at this, because it's their county now.
What you saying?
Both of Tenino's wrestlers earned medals at the state tournament.
Very good.
They actually both advanced to the semifinals on Friday. Had a tough day Saturday though.